Okay, one person is enough to start. Won't be talking to nobody. Engine is about 90% complete, and can't even describe how excited I am for this. It's been way too long for this day to come. So the intake is just sitting on it right now. I just finished painting it like 15 minutes ago, and I'm still bombed on spray paint fumes from painting this thing in my garage. But this afternoon, I masked the whole engine off. I finished up buttoning up the windage tray. I put the timing cover on, put the water pump on, put the oil slinger in behind the timing cover before I put the timing cover on. Actually, I take that back. I put the timing cover on, then looked down on the ground and realized that it was still out, so I had to pull the timing cover back off, put the oil slinger on, then put the timing cover back on it again. And after I did that, I was able to put the oil pan on and masked it all off and painted it. So now I made a total mess all over the floor because every engine I've built, if they sit for a little while as they're getting put together, I just like to pour a quart of oil into the lifter valley and just wash everything all out. Not to say necessarily that the engine is dirty, but it's just peace of mind if there's any dust or any dirt particles or anything like that that may have gotten stuck in there. Or in my case, especially the reason I did it was because I had to do a lot of grinding in my lifter valley to fit my roller rockers, because this block unfortunately had a massive core shift. So you can see all that behind the lifters that I had to grind out. So set this down somewhere. I still have a lot of stuff to put on. Well, after the dyno, none of this is all just accessories. Mostly, actually, I gotta put the carburetor on the distributor, but before I put the intake manifold on, I'm going to turn the engine over. I'm getting ready to pack it up for the night, but yeah, before I put the intake manifold on, I'm going to turn the motor over, get number 1 at TDC, suck, squeeze, bang, blow, 4 cycles. So I'm going to get this turned over on the compression stroke and put the distributor in, point it at the number 1 cylinder. So that'll be good and ready. Hopefully it'll fire up pretty quick. Hopefully nothing catastrophic happens, but if it does, you guys will see it. So that is that. Oh, and I gotta put the gotta put the harmonic balancer on too. Little odds and ends, but other than that, the engine is basically done. I mean, all the really, really important stuff is done. So that's good. It's gonna be crunch time on Sunday to get everything wrapped up because I have to work all day tomorrow, unfortunately. So it's gonna be probably a late night tomorrow with a 6-pack in the garage. Get everything finished up. Sorry, I'm tired. I get up at work at 7:30 and then come home and I work on this thing until 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's pretty exhausting, but it's worth it for sure. Hopefully it'll be worth it on the dyno and it'll stay together and it won't run for one pass and then completely off itself like that engine did. That wasn't on the dyno, but you get the idea. I don't want that to happen to this engine. So I'm shooting for 600 horsepower. I think it'll be achievable, and if it does, or when it does, I'm going to be optimistic. When it hits 600, I think it's just barely going to squeak it. I think it's going to be like 601, which I will be perfectly okay with, but not even aiming at the horsepower goal. The biggest goal and the biggest victory is going to be is if this thing stays together and it doesn't blow apart on the dyno. That's the ultimate goal. So I don't think it'll be a problem. I built everything to the best of my possible ability and checked everything and went over everything 3 times before I assembled and during assembly. Make sure all the bearing clearances were right. Everything is torqued down properly. Everything was clean. Rings were filed, installed properly. Just everything that you do to make sure everything is right. It takes a lot of time. And you can't. This isn't something you can just do overnight. You can't build an engine like this just like that. Of course, just like me and every other normal person, finances were tight. Budgeting for everything else, having a house and bills and adult shit that's no fun. So there's all that, and making sure you buy good quality parts for this, so it'll hold together. The only weak link now, to my knowledge, before the engine runs is going to be the block itself, because everything else is machined perfect and all the internals are forged to the best of what I could afford. I got all ARP, everything internally. I had ARP 2000 rod bolts, which I know those were not going to break. I've got 800 horsepower forged I-beam rods, which this thing's not going to make 800 horsepower, so I don't have to worry about the rods. Pistons, don't have to worry about those breaking. I did file the rings for a 150 shot, so that's not going to happen on the dyno. I don't have any nitrous stuff, but that'll be further on down the road. Granted, like I said, everything stays together. So we shall see what happens. And yeah, I goofed up on my oil pump here, like I was talking about in my last live. I'm not really going to be able to see. Maybe the threads got all galled up from my old oil pickup tube, which really sucked. So I had a lot of time into this oil pump. I ported the inside of it a lot on the inlet and the outlet side. The inlet right there, obviously, for the pickup tube, and then the outlet. This is where the oil goes into the engine. But yeah, that kind of sucked, spending all the time on that and then having the threads gall up and pull out of it from my old pickup tube, and then it broke off in there and I had to start all over on that. So that's a paperweight. But I took my intake manifold and my valve covers to a parts washer, got those all cleaned up, so they'll be ready to throw on there when I get home from work tomorrow. And I'll button everything up Sunday, give everything another once over. And that'll be it. So I'm probably going to next, or some of the last things I'm going to do. I got my intake gaskets and my valve cover gaskets. Yeah, the intake is, it's kind of stained up, but it's clean. Not really anything else, to be honest. I actually do have to get new spark plugs, because these ones probably could be used, but it's not really something you don't want to put used spark plugs into a new engine. So I got to get my fuel pump off of my grenaded timing cover that's still attached to that, and put it on to my new, to me, timing cover. Get this moved over. I gotta pull the tape off of that and oil up the timing chain a little bit because I didn't really put a ton on there. But the biggest thing is oiling the what do you call it? The not exterior. What the hell am I talking about? The cam lobe that turns on the front of the camshaft to run the fuel pump. So I gotta put some assembly lube on that. I just gotta tip the motor over that way so it'll be able to run into it straight down. So that's it for that. I think I did a pretty good job masking everything while it was while the oil pan was on it and the heads were on it. So I got a little bit of silicone here. That's not gonna be perfect. I'm just trying to find something else to do right now. But hopefully that won't leak. I use this RTV. It is the best shit ever. And I can't find it. I just had it when I put my oil pan on. So I gotta find it here somewhere. There it is. Okay, here we go. I work for Mopar. I don't know if any of you or how many of you knew that, but this is the stuff that we use at my dealership. And it is the best RTV I've ever used in my life. It's made by Mopar. It's called 3-bond engine RTV. Not just for engines. You can use it on transmissions and rear ends, but it's specifically designed just for motor oil. And it is, like I said, I'm just going to keep repeating myself. This is the best RTV you can buy. So if anybody is looking for some good RTV, you need to go to a Fiat or Dodge or Chrysler or anything like that, any branch of Mopar. You'll be able to buy this stuff, and it is amazing. I really don't know how much it is, honestly, because I've just kept all my leftover tubes from jobs that I've done, and I've kind of stacked up on them. So yeah, this stuff is like super glue for gaskets. It does not leak, and it does not want to come off when you want it to come off when you have to take something apart, which is good because you don't have to worry about it leaking. But when it does come to that time where you have to get it off, that is not so fun. So that is that. So I got my YouTube, don't look at that. I'm gonna get demonetized. I had to switch out my rocker arm adjuster screws because I thought these were 3/8, and I ordered 3/8 push rods, and they ended up being 5/16, and I didn't really want to spend another $300 on push rods, so I just got some 3/8 adjuster screws. Let's see, I saw a chat come up somewhere. Let's see what it was. No, this one is actually a 402 cubic inch 318. So it's a 4-inch crank with a 4-inch bore. So it's straight 4x4. So I don't think I really need to, but I'm gonna go ahead and show it. And I'll show it again when it's on the dyno, when it hits 600 horsepower, that you can do it with a 318 block. So that is actually, I think, a little bit bigger of a pan than I had before. That's I think that's a 9-quart pan. It's a little bit of older Mylan on. It was new though. It was at a friend of a friend's shop. It was just sitting new on the shelf outside of the box. So it's kind of old and crusty looking, but it's never been used. So that'll be a little bit better for the minor oiling mods that I did to my pump and to the block, just to have a little bit extra reserve down there for that high volume oil pump and for the required, I guess, volume of oil that's going to be going through the engine. So it'll be nice to have just that extra quart in there. Not have to worry about it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think it turned out pretty good, except for that kind of looks ratty. This is just my old water pump. I repainted it. I just masked it off here for my radiator hose. and this is for my heater. I forgot to mask that off the last time I painted my water pump, but that's not really that big of a deal. So let's do a little mock-up here. Let's set the intake and the valve covers on it. Get you all excited. So, like I said, I was getting this. It's a little speed trick. These are good for about 10 horsepower. They're billet CNC tapered carburetor spacers. I was going to get a Wilson manifold spacer, I guess brand of it, and they're like $200, but I found this one that's made by Summit Racing, and it's literally the exact same spacer, and it was only $100. So don't see really any point in that if it's not going to make any horsepower difference to spend the money. It looks like a bomb went off in this garage, but I don't even care because I'm making a lot of progress on this engine the past few days, about a week or two. So get that set on there. Set my carburetor on there. I got one of these nice, so everything's falling apart. One of these fancy schmancy throttle cable brackets. I needed it for my car because this intake manifold is so tall. I'll actually be able to show you right now while it's apart. I had to bend the hell out of this stock bracket and it ended up breaking, and my throttle cable is at like a 45-degree angle, which is not really ideal. So I spent, I think it was only like $40. This is a Summit brand also. So I got that. Get the air cleaner set on here. A little mock-up going. I didn't realize really how tall this thing was with that intake and that huge air cleaner. Valve covers. Honestly forgot what this engine looked like. It's been blown up for so long. It really is a shame. I hate hiding really expensive parts where you can't see them, but it's all right. It is what it is. There she is. Does not look like a 318 anymore. But that's everything other than my headers. Which honestly, I have the, I splurged a little bit on those. I got these stainless ARP bolts so they won't get all gross looking and rust after a little while. So I can take this off now too. I just had a filter sitting up on my shelf in my garage just to throw on here so it wouldn't get all gross when I painted it inside. So I'm gonna clean up the cylinder heads a little bit because they're still kind of on the outside. They're greasy and kind of got some overspray on them from my headers when I was trying to touch them up when they were in the car. So I'm just gonna clean these up a little bit more, and the headers I'm probably going to heat wrap while they're outside of the car now, because doing it while the headers are in the car is a total nightmare. I've tried it and it is not worth the struggle, especially in an A body. So let's see. Yeah, I'm really hoping it'll squeak 600 horsepower. Like I said, there's a few other things I've done since the last version. Nothing major. The head intake, or the heads, cam, the intake, carburetor, all the major components are the same. Little things, I did that tapered carburetor spacer. I put merge collectors on my headers. Those are good for maybe about 10-15 horsepower. That spacer's good for about 8-10 horsepower. I did a ton of porting on my intake manifold, which should be good for maybe another 5-10 horsepower. If you do a lot of things like that, it really adds up quick. If you do 1, 2, well, really that's it. You do the 5 horsepower here, 10 horsepower here, 15 horsepower there, it adds up quick when you do 3-4 things. That's 30-40 horsepower. So math probably isn't quite accurate on that, but you get the gist of it. So I might, unless I can find one really cheap, I'm probably not going to do it. But I saw on Summit Racing, they have a air CFM calculator where you put in your cubic inches of your engine and the RPM that you're going to be running at, and it will tell you how much air your engine actually needs and how big of a carburetor you actually need. And it said this engine will need about 920 or 930 CFM, which you can't get that. You just get a 950 is close enough. And this is a 850, which for the money, I don't think spending another $700 on a carburetor is worth 5 horsepower to me at this point, because I've done all the cheaper things that you can do. The intake porting was just my time to do it. That was free. Merge collectors I got from a local machine shop. I think I paid $100 for those, and then it was $100 for the carburetor spacer. So if you figure $250 for about 30 horsepower, you can't really beat that anywhere. So I'll probably, just to be able to look at it, I don't think I want to put the engine bag back on it. I'll just leave it all mocked up like this with the valve covers and the intake on it. I don't have to worry about the underside, like on the crankshaft and the rods, getting anything on them now, because I have the oil pan on there, and that's all done. So if you guys got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer about the engine, or, well, really just the engine. That's what this live is about. So I'm probably going to mix on the dyno just so I can run a little bit more time. And okay, it's time clock's running again. I'm having some service issues, so pardon that. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the gas I'm going to be running on the dyno. I'm going to mix 110 and 93 just so I can bump a little more timing into it to try and get a little bit more horsepower, because if it comes to like 598, then I'm going to need that extra bit of oomph for timing. So I'm just going to run some good gas on the dyno for that reason. Yeah, I'm going to make a video of it on the dyno. I actually need to just take some more video of this for my actual engine video. So I don't know if I'm going to put the video of this when it's on the dyno in that video of building the engine, or if I'm going to make a completely separate video of the engine while it's on the dyno. So I haven't really made my mind up on that yet. The bearing clearances, I opened them up a little bit more. I think my mains are about a little over, no, almost 3 thousandths on the mains, and a little under 3 on the connecting rods. Just so I can run a little bit thicker oil in, and everything will stay happy at higher RPM. So there's not really anything else. I think I've gone over literally everything with this. So questions, comments, nothing. Let's see if I can get a shot. That's what it'll look like in the car. There you go. Stand up a little bit. I gotta go inside and get my harmonic balancer too. Put that on. That won't take but 5 minutes to put that on. when I get back from the dyno, I gotta take my engine mounts off of that block and put them on this one. So it doesn't even feel real to be looking at this thing right now. It's been blown up for such a long time. It's kind of sad to say it, but I'm really happy that it's back together. Hopefully it'll stay together. I need to clean off the hood of the Cuda because it's just covered in tools from building the engine. And my workbench, as you guys saw, it looks like a grenade went off over there. So I got a lot of cleaning to do, but I'm gonna wait till after the engine's completely done. Priorities. So what do you guys think? Please comment. I want to know what you guys would prefer to see in terms of the dyno, if I should make a completely separate dyno video, or if I should just add the dyno footage into the engine build. The transmission is still the stock 4-speed that came in this car. It's a Chrysler, or actually technically it's a new process, A833 4-speed. So I still have the, go over here, I still got the old inland shifter in there. I want to put a pistol grip in there. I think that'd be pretty sweet. Hey, Tom's girlfriend. Wife, I don't know. He calls you both. Yeah, I've got that blown up 318 there. That's another 318. I got that one's a 340. So if this thing completely goes to shit like the last one did, I'm going to be building a 416 or a 426 out of that 340, which would be absolutely sweet. So Tom now is that close. I mean, that close to breaking into the fives with his car on nitrous. He's got another motor for it right now that he's building. So with that, he won't need as much nitrous, and I think it'll break into the fives just easy, which will be awesome to see because it's a complete street car. He's got a radio in it, full exhaust, everything. Yeah, I'll probably do that. That'd be a better idea. Just take a little bit of footage and go live for a short period of time while I'm getting it dynoed, maybe for 1 or 2 pulls, and then be able to record some better video for the whole engine build. I don't know what I should call it. Let's call the title of that video. The last one got a ton of attention when I said how to build a 600 horsepower 318. The carburetor that's on here is the same, hasn't changed. It's a Holley 850 HP. So HP meaning it's just, there's no choke horn on it. It's a kind of racy-ish oriented carburetor. And then the next step up from that would be a Holley XP or a Dominator, which I have seen that they've made smaller CFM Dominators. I think you can get a 950 Dominator, but I don't want to have to change my intake and my spacer that I just bought. I don't have the cam specs off the top of my head. Compression ratio is about 12.5 to 1. So same as it was before. It's actually just a teeny bit lower because I wanted to be able to still not have to worry about if I got bad pump gas and it would detonate on the street. I had a bit of a problem with that before because it was, I think it was 12.7 to 1 before, but now it's like 12.4, 12.5. I don't think it's not gonna really make that much of a difference, but it'll be a little less picky with gas. I don't want to have to run race gas in it all the time because that just takes the fun out of it, being able to drive it on the street. So I don't know really of anybody, honestly, that ports these trick flow heads because they're already. Ooh, that sounded good. It sounded like a Hellcat. Yeah, I don't know of anybody that does any CNC work to these because they are already CNC ported from trick flow. These ones were anyways. But like I said, getting into that territory of the carburetor, is it really worth spending $1,200 or $1,300 to get another 10 horsepower out of the cylinder heads when I could just spend $600 and put a 150 shot on it? But they're obviously not able to be seen now. But I have, like I said, all ARP everything. This is one of my old studs, but ARP studs, ARP 2000 rod bolts, head studs, Cometic MLS head gaskets. So everything, it's got the best of the parts that I could possibly afford to put on it. So everything on the outside pretty much was reused. My intake, my carburetor, valve covers, cylinder heads, oil pan is almost the same because the old one was completely destroyed when the engine blew up. When my old engine blew up, it just, from about the Milodon sticker up was gone, and from about the middle point of the water pump where the shaft comes out, so from about here to that Milodon sticker was completely wiped out, because that's actually the crankshaft right there. It came out at 7,000 RPM and just blew everything out the front. If it was somebody else's, I would have said, holy shit, that was cool. But I didn't say, holy shit, that was cool, because it was mine. I did hear that you're supposed to go the next size-ish up carburetor, because it does seem to help a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure Tom did. Tom is no longer a 318 hater because of me. He's now a believer. Yeah, it honestly probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get a 1,000 or 1050 CFM carburetor for this, but like I said, I'm not gonna spend $700-800 for a carburetor to only get another 10 horsepower. I'd rather just spend the money and throw a 150 shot on it, because I did file the rigs out for it. Ugh, sorry, I'm pretty freaking tired. Yeah, I'm ready to hear it too. I'm hoping this thing will scream a little bit higher RPM than it did before, just because of the spacer that I put on it, and the intake manifold is ported way out. I'm hoping to push maybe another 300 or 400 RPM out of it in the power band. Before, I was shifting it at about 7,000. I could stretch it out to about 7,300. It felt like before it would nose over around 6,800, 6,900. So I don't know if it was a fuel issue, because I was having some carburetor problems. Yeah, that one video that I made, I stretched it way past to what it was making power, just to do it, because it sounds so good at that high of RPM. But it's really not worth pushing the engine another almost 1,000 RPM past what it makes power, because it's just unnecessary strain. But like I said, it sounds so cool. I want to build like a 8,500 RPM small block, naturally aspirated. That is a noise like unlike anything else. Big blocks sound good, but 9,000 RPM is just a different sound, especially coming from a small block. So that's about it. I'm going on 35 minutes now, so I appreciate you guys for watching, and like Diana says, I'm gonna take my happy ass to bed. So I will record some more footage when I get everything actually completely bolted on, like the intake and the harmonic balancer and stuff, and loading the engine up into the truck Sunday night or Monday. I don't know quite when I'm going to do it yet because I don't have to be there until 10 o'clock. I'll probably just do it Sunday night, but appreciate all you guys, and I will see you later.